Hey family, welcome to the Living Day by Day show. I'm your host, Minister Lakiba Wallace. Of course, y'all know I have backup all the time in the room, and that is Elder John Garrett, Dr. Renee Sunday, and Pastor Yolanda Snipes. This is the Living Day by Day show, guys. And if you're tuning in for the very first time, this is a show where we bring an avenue of information, an avenue of education, and an avenue of inspiration. So we want you to do what you do best. Facebook somebody, tweet somebody, LinkedIn, do whatever you need to do and let them know that the Living Day by Day show, guys, we are broadcasting live right now on AIB TV. And I'm excited today, guys, to have a well-rounded, phenomenal pastor who has traveled all the way, I call it O-Town, all the way from Orlando, Florida to be on the set of the Living Day by Day show, guys. We're in the A. In the hot A, that's Atlanta, Georgia. And he is the author of a book. And I was told before we got on this show to make sure I read this book right. So y'all, hold on one second. Lemons to Lemonade, Overcoming Your Past and Winning in the Now. So I'm excited to present to some and introduce to others, none other than Pastor Christopher L. Walker.
Thank you.
Did I do that right?
You did it just the way I paid you.
Okay, absolutely. A check is on the way. Well, we are just so excited to have you as a guest. And so I want you to talk a little bit. Your title is very catchy, Lemons to Lemonade. So let's talk a little bit about what's lemons and what's lemonade. What does that mean?
Well, lemons represent the sour moments, the bitter moments, the sour seasons that are in your life. Mm-hmm. And, of course, the lemonade represents the after process, mm-hmm. so to speak. So this book is basically about people who have learned how to squeeze purpose out of a sour season.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. And, you know, I think all too often sometimes people walk around and they got the lemons, but they don't really know how to make the lemonade.
Right.
And so we're going to just dive deep into this. And so I want you to talk about that process, because a lot of times we can walk around for years, you know, 10 and 15 and 20 years, and we got these lemons. We don't know we have them. And God is really giving you the tools, you know, to make the lemonade, but we don't really recognize that. You know, I'm going to share something quickly. You know, God always tells me when I get into a situation, it's like you already have what you need. And so you already have that lemonade, but all too often we don't recognize that. And so what would you say to those group of people out there who they're riding around with lemons? They're in the church house every time the church doors are open. So let's talk a little bit about how you go from lemons to lemonade.
Well, you know, I first have to start with the testimony of where the book came from. Mm-hmm. And, you know, because you have to understand the process of lemonade. And over 18 years ago, I was married at a young age. I was 19. And by the time I was 22, my wife at that time had walked off and left me with a 2- and 3-year-old.
Oh, wow.
And so I got off work and she's gone and there's the babies. At this time in my life, I was a worship leader for a church. So I had to go to church and pretend like everything was fine. There was nothing going on. I lied for months because people obviously would say, I'm the worship leader, you know, where's your wife? Mm-hmm. And I would say she's at home or she's sick or something. But I basically went into a deep depression. Mm-hmm. And in 6 weeks, I lost everything. Mm-hmm. I lost my job. My car was repossessed. I lost $10,000 in a business deal. And my lights were shut off. And this all happened in 6 weeks. Mm-hmm. I wanted to end my life. And I ended up on welfare. You know, back then they didn't have the fancy cars they got right now. You had the books.
you had the paper money.
But so I'm standing in the welfare line, and I have this prodigal son moment. I'm like, God, I don't have to, you know, what has happened to me? And I realized that I had allowed someone to steal my identity. Wow. You know, I'm in line, and I just lost who I was, and I wanted to end my life, and I realized I have allowed someone to steal my identity. And there are a lot of people out there. There are a lot of people who have walked off from people, and they have lost their identity in who that person was, and that's why they can't bounce back.
Right.
So the whole thing about this book is going through your process. Mm-hmm. You know, lemonade is a great drink. It's very refreshing, but it has gone through a process in order to become lemonade. Mm-hmm. You know, when I was growing up, I don't know if you guys ever bought this, but my mother used to buy lemon drink, and that's the 99-cent gallon, you know, that you buy in the store.
Now you go in there.
But if you read the ingredients, it says 1% fruit juice. So it has the form of lemonade, but what it's denying is the process.
Oh, wow. Mm-hmm.
Wow, I like that.
It's denying the process,
Yeah.
and of course the power too. But the process is, number one, you got to have real lemons. So people that are going through sour season ask those questions: why is this happening to me? Why now? What did I do? We always ask the whys when things are happening because we don't expect them to happen. And of course, but the thing about lemons is that without lemons, you can't have real lemonade. So your problem, your temporary sour season, is the main ingredient to your success story.
Wow.
So without the sour season, you can't have lemonade.
Awesome. Awesome. I love that. That is just so amazing because, all too often we don't want to go through the process.
Right.
We have this problem. We don't want to go through the process, but I think people need to really understand that in the process comes the palace,
Right.
comes the promise. And so we want the end result all the time. We don't really want to go through.
Right.
But I want to go back a little bit because the story that you just shared is not likely of a man.
No,
and y'all know I got to go there. It's not typical for a woman to be leaving a man.
Right.
And I'm not hating on the men. Y'all don't start throwing things because I might start throwing things back in the name of who? I know, not Jesus. But at any rate, all too often, that's the story of a lady,
Well, I tell people I lived the life of a single mother for 9 years.
Wow.
9 years I had those boys. And
Amazing.
So I would get flowers and cards and stuff on Mother's Day. And not only did I live the life, when I say I lived the life, my ex-wife, their mom used to live no more than a mile and a half from us.
Wow.
And I would call her to see if she was going to keep them for the weekend. And I can tell you from the time that she left to the time they are grown now, she never kept them. She
Wow.
never, ever kept them. If I called and say, can you keep the kids? Can I bring them over? It was always she had something to do. She had something to do. She never kept them on the weekend. She never bought a birthday gift or a Christmas gift ever in their life.
Can you help a brother out, please?
So I lived the life of a single mother for 8 years. And I think that's why now I have such a passion for single mothers and single parents, because I understand what they're going through and the things that they've experienced.
Awesome.
I've experienced myself.
Well, I can really just come up with so many more questions, but I know Dr. Renee or Yolanda, Pastor Yolanda, has some other remarks as well.
Well, I have a question, and as you were alluding to, yes, we always go through something, and we ask the question, why? But try to inform our listeners and our viewers today, where do you get this inner strength? Where do you get that passion or purpose to move forward? Because that's what the problem, we get stuck.
Yeah, a lot of people are stuck in their lemon season, and that's why I subtitle it Overcoming Your Past and Winning in the Now, because some people, they say, okay, preacher, I can identify with the lemons because I got them, but how do I overcome it? How do I come out of it?
Yes.
Of course, one of the things is the Word. What turned it around for me, I was a member of a mega church. When I was a member of one church as a worship leader, but then I left that church out of embarrassment because, I was just depressed. Mm-hmm. But then eventually I went to another church, and this was a mega church, about 2,000 members. Mm-hmm. And every Sunday I would open up this church, and nobody knew, including the pastor, that I was leaving that service encouraging thousands when I needed encouragement myself. Yes. They didn't know that I was going home to a house with no water, no lights, no food. And a lot of times the pastor would put money in my hand, and that's how I got gas money to get home. The scripture said I was, glad when they said unto me, let us go into the house. Well, I literally love that scripture because every Saturday night I couldn't sleep. No night I could sleep really because the rats and roaches and everything, you couldn't sleep. You had no electricity, didn't know what time it was. So when Sunday morning came, I definitely was glad to go to the house of the Lord. And so I think people used to always say, well, why do you have so much energy? They didn't know. I just came from an abandoned house with no lights. And so I'm glad to be in air and, all of this. So one day my pastor preached the word. Problem or promise. It's all how you look at it.
Wow.
And I decided that day that I was going to look at my situation as a temporary problem with a future promise. I was reminded that the Hebrew boys, when they went in, they came out and they didn't look like what they had been through. So when I was opening up service, I was determined that I was not going to look like what I was going through. That's why nobody knew.
Wow, that is definitely powerful. And if you're just tuning in, you are listening in the words of Pastor Christopher L. Walker. And we're excited today, guys, to be interviewing him, but we are going to take a commercial break. But we want you to make sure that you come back, sit tight. We're going to pay some bills because we want you to be able to see this show continuously. So stay tuned, guys. We're going to go into a break, but we'll be coming right back.
This is Sean Heineman, the Doctor of Love.
And this is Londina Heineman, the Nurse of Love.
And we discuss real topics in a spiritual and practical way so you can apply it to your everyday life.
The Doctor of Love Show, giving marriages and relationships the tools to prosper.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Living Day by Day show. I'm still Minister Lakeeba Wallace. Y'all know I'm silly. And to my left here is Elder John Garrett. Of course, these nice young ladies to my right is Dr. Renee Sunday and Pastor Yolanda Snipes. Guys, this is the LDBD. This is the Living Day by Day show, guys, right here on AIV TV. We are broadcasting live in Atlanta, Georgia, and we're talking to an amazing pastor, Pastor Christopher L. Walker, who wrote the book. Y'all know I got to read it, get it right. Lemons to Lemonade, Overcoming Your Past and Winning in the Now. Welcome back.
Thank you for having me back.
And I know in the first segment we were talking about an array of things, and you mentioned about in a roundabout way that you were homeless. And so would you say that that part of your life was the lemons?
Yes, it was.
Okay. So talk a little bit how you would encourage somebody who they may not be homeless, but they're in a situation right now where it's tough for them, it's tight for them, you know.
Yeah, well, a lemon could be, as I talk about in the book, a lemon could be anything. It could be a divorce. It could be maybe that person was working on their job and they were just shy of retirement and they were let go or
That's
laid
great.
off. You know, maybe someone was molested or raped, or so lemons could be whatever that most bitter and sour moment of your life is, and you have to learn how to squeeze purpose out of that sour situation. And you know, you have to really just find the word. You know, find something that's going to change your situation, and usually what changes a person's situation and get them out of that rut and that season is that, one, you've got to understand that this is temporary. This is not, it's really not about you. It's about the people that you have been assigned to.
Oh, wow.
You know, they may not see it right now. I didn't see it. You couldn't have told me when I was in that house that I would be a pastor 18 years later in the same city that I was homeless in.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
You could have told me that. I was just trying to survive at that point. And so understand that whatever you're going through, it's for a purpose and a reason, and you've got to find that purpose in it.
Awesome. Well, I really love your book, and I'm going to give the other cast members the opportunity to chime in here. But I love the book because it really speaks to an array of folks.
Yes.
You know, for me, my lemons were breast cancer.
Yes.
And being a single parent,
Yes.
you know, experiencing financial depletion when I went through breast cancer. But the lemonade that came from that is absolutely amazing. So your book really speaks to a lot of people.
Yes.
And so I want Pastor Yolanda to jump in here because I have so many questions that I could really ask, because this is really such an amazing book. And I know you're traveling around the globe doing a multitude of interviews. So before I start getting some more questions out of my bosom, I'm going to toss this mic over to Pastor Yolanda.
And I thank you for sharing your testimony.
Yes.
And my question is, what advice would you give that person that's in that prodigal son or that prodigal daughter phase of their life where maybe that father wants to go back home, that mother wants to go back home, but they may feel in their heart, I've done so much damage to them, I'm better away.
Right.
How do they make those steps or that transition to go back?
Well, first of all, they got to find themselves, just like the prodigal son did.
Amen.
You know, he got out there and he realized, I don't have to live like this. I don't have to live in this. You know, he had such a great inheritance, and he came to a conclusion one day. You know what? This is not for me.
Amen.
You know, he realized he had a promise at home, but he was living in a problem.
Right.
And so once he realized that I can go back to my promise, I don't have to stay in my problem. And that's what people have to realize. I don't have to stay in this. I've got to find myself and shake off the dust and just keep going, because, you know, there was a man who laid beside the pool for 38 years. And it's not that his healing wasn't there. It was always there every year he went.
Right.
And the Bible said he was, you know, waiting for them. All of them were waiting for a move of the Spirit. So he wasn't the only one that was waiting for something to happen. But the problem is they all went looking for something to happen when what they needed was already in them.
Right.
And so Jesus didn't lay hands on him. He just asked him a question. How long have you been in your sour season? And do you want to come out of it? And when he said, yes, I do, he said, well, then get up.
Amen.
Well,
And I'm thinking of the prodigal son's father.
Yes.
And we have parents and we have husbands and wives that are standing there for that person. What words of encouragement would you give them?
You know, to really keep praying for your child, keep praying for your husband, keep praying for your wife. This too shall pass. It's just a season. And that's what it's about. It's just a season. And, you know, when I talk about in the book, you know, you got to have real lemons. And then, of course, the second step is you got to be willing to be cut. What they're experiencing right now is the cutting season.
Right.
That's the season that hurts the most. But David said, I was afflicted that I might know your ways. And so for some of us, we didn't come closer to God until we were cut. And so for those parents who are saying, when will my child come off of drugs? When will my husband, you know, come out of the streets? When will my wife get saved? Keep praying for them. Keep believing and keep speaking to them. Keep speaking into their life, because some people don't have people. They've heard enough negativity. They need somebody to speak life into them. If they're not a man of God, call them one anyway.
Amen.
awesome.
Wow. What is one thing that you can purposely tell everybody that while you're winning in the now, how to still handle when the past try to come back?
Well, in chapter 12, I talk about the presentation. And that is when you've gone through the process, and I poured this lemonade into this glass, and I put a slice of lemon on the edge of the glass. And that's after you've been through your process. Now God wants to use it to present you to refresh other people. But at the edge of that glass was a slice of lemon. And I always wondered, why do people put a slice of lemon at the edge of a glass that already has lemonade in it?
Oh, wow.
God says that is to remind you of where you came from.
Ah.
And so you cannot forget while you're refreshing other people, don't forget that you once had a lemon season yourself.
Wow.
Don't forget about that EBT card you used to swipe.
Yes. So when you come into your lemonade season where you're refreshing other people, you can't forget that you once lived that same season. Today, I minister to homeless people. I've kept people from being homeless. I've paid bills. I've ministered to single mothers. I mean, I don't think I would have that heart that I have now, because I understand.
Right.
You know, everything else I can maybe push aside. But when it comes to single mothers and homeless people, that's like my string, you know, is being pulled, because I've been there. I know what it feels like to not have lights and water, not have another parent, you know, be involved, and nobody not know what you're going through, and you're trying to keep your head above water, and you're trying to keep your kids from feeling what you're feeling.
Right.
You know, so just never forget where you are. I mean, today I sit on this set, and actually I was counting the other day how many interviews I had gotten since the book came out 3 months ago.
Okay.
I have 50 radio and television interviews across the country, Canada, and the Bahamas.
Wow, that's a real
As of right now, I have no
That's
PR.
some real good lemonade
I have
for sure.
I have no PR person.
Come on.
I'm a self-publisher. I just did what God told me to do, laid the book out, got it, all that. And I want to encourage even those who are out there writing books. Some people were like me. This book sat on my computer for 6 years because I couldn't afford to print it, because there's so many printing companies that wanted $4,000 or $5,000.
Right.
But I can tell you today that I laid this book out, did the cover, got my first 100 copies, all under $900.
Wow.
That's great.
That's awesome.
And so all I can say is God is doing this. I mean, every time I get an interview, I get another interview.
Okay.
That's just how God is doing it. Just this week alone, I'm doing 5 TV networks this week.
Awesome.
And so,
yes, indeed, very awesome.
yeah, God is doing it. But I give him all the glory, because people are being refreshed today because I was cut and squeezed before.
Wow.
I got one other question.
Yeah.
if it's okay.
Wow, absolutely.
For every pastor like yourself
Mhm.
that has to deal with a wife walking away, what would you encourage him?
Keep going. Don't give up on who you are and your calling, and don't lose your identity or your calling in somebody else. When my first wife walked off, I wasn't a pastor. I was just a worship leader. But you can imagine that's a hard thing to have to do, because you got to think about it. My job was to come to church and uplift not only the name of the Lord, but lift up everybody else.
Right.
So while I'm lifting everybody else up, I also have to deal with not showing what I'm going through, because I'm hurt and depressed, and then I've got to lie because the saint, my mother gonna ask you, baby, where your wife?
Exactly.
I ain't seen her in 3 Sundays.
Is she
now.
okay?
Is she all right? And so you got to come up with something. And so I was balancing trying to lie and worship and encourage people, and then encourage myself.
Exactly.
And that was a hard juggling. So I would encourage every pastor or minister, or even that pastor who may be in a sour season. Perhaps they have a ministry that hasn't grown. People have walked away. Money is not coming in. Your church is in foreclosure. That's a sour season.
Oh, definitely.
But you've got to squeeze purpose out of this and keep going, because if God told you to do it, He's going to provide for it.
That's right.
No matter who walks away.
Exactly.
Wow. I just think about Ephesians 3:20, when it says, now unto him who's able to do exceedingly abundantly all that we can ever imagine or think, according to, watch this, the power that work inside of us. And so the lemonade is the power that's inside of us. And so I'm just so excited, to be able to have the opportunity to interview you, because I'm sure there are an array of folks out there who are in their lemon season. And they want to know how to cross over to the lemonade. And so we're going to go into another commercial break. But when we come back, we're going to really dive deep into that. I really like the fact that you're transparent, because people really need to understand that we sit here on this set today, we looking good, we looking fine. I think I'm the only one. Well, she got weave, I got weave. This is not mine, y'all, in case y'all was wondering. At any rate, and so we look nice, but we do have some lemons. And so I want to talk a little bit more about how we get to that lemonade process, that phase, because it is there for everybody.
Yes.
Some of us just don't take the cup and drink it. And so we want you guys to make sure that you stay tuned. We're going to go into another commercial break, but we'll be coming right back with the Living Day by Day show. Sit tight.
Hi, everybody. This is Dr. Renee Sunday, the co-host of the Living Day by Day TV show. I want to tell you about an upcoming exciting event. It's called the Sunday Grief MD Pet Seminar. It will be held in Atlanta, Georgia on December the 14th, 2013. It's at the GICC, which is the Georgia International Convention Center. The time is 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Come out and learn information about what to do when you're in the grieving process. Is it okay to grieve? Is it okay to have physical, emotional, and spiritual responses? Just what to do next. Should we have a memorial? All these questions will be answered. If you want to have additional information, you can Facebook us, Twitter, and also you can go to our website, which is www.sgmdseminars.org, or you can email us at sgmdseminars@gmail.com. Please join us if you want to be a sponsor, if you want to be a vendor, or if you just want to be our guest. Please join us, and thank you so much for your time. Be blessed.
Hey guys, welcome back to the set of the Living Day by Day show. I'm your host, Minister Lakiba Wallace, and I'm here with my co-host, that is Dr. Renee Sunday, Pastor Yolanda Snipes, and Elder John Garrett, and we are chatting it up today, guys, with none other than Pastor Christopher L. Walker. You got to get the L in because there's so many Christopher Walkers. This is Christopher L. Walker. And he has wrote an incredible book entitled Lemons to Lemonade, Overcoming Your Past and Winning in the Now. I want you to talk a little bit about some of the scenarios and some of the situations that you have very crafty-wise put in your book here.
Well, I always tell people that the reason why I put the stories in there, because there's only one chapter about myself, and I decided to put different variations of stories because, you know, everybody can identify with lemons. Mm-hmm. If you look at the Bible is full of lemons to lemonade stories. Right. People who started one way, but because of their faith, you know, they're able to refresh us now when we read their stories. Mm-hmm. I love music, so one of my favorite artists is Dr. Marvin Sapp.
Right.
And when we listen to his songs, you know, the Never Would Have Made It, He Saw the Best in Me, a lot of these songs, they refresh us at a point of hurt or need in our life, and they encourage us. But in order for Marvin to encourage us today, he had to be cut and squeezed.
Wow.
That's good.
Most of the songs that are popular, that are bestsellers, that minister to us, he wrote those songs, or they were birthed out of a sour season in his life when he lost his father in the Lord. His wife died of cancer. And so those songs were birthed. God knew that, you know, for Marvin it was pain. It was hurt. Right. It was that cutting season, that squeezing season. But God knew we needed a song. So Marvin had to be squeezed so we can have those songs.
Wow.
We're excited. You already have Pastor Christopher L. Walker's contact information. You can also hit him up on Facebook as well. He's all over Facebook, all of the social media sites that are out there. Twitter, LinkedIn. I think that's how we connected, via LinkedIn. So if you want him to come to your next event, or if you want to interview him, make sure you reach out to him. You can always reach out to any one of the co-hosts here on the set or myself as well. You know, I always like to say, get yourself a copy of the Living Day by Day magazine. Isaac Curry is looking amazing on the October edition. I'm not going to tell y'all who is coming up on January, but it is even, how they say, gooder. You know, I had to go country. It is going to blow your mind. So make sure you go by www.livingdaybyday.net and get yourself a copy of the Living Day by Day magazine. This show airs every Wednesday, guys, on AIB TV at 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we want you to make sure that your face is somewhere by the TV every Wednesday at 7 a.m. Y'all know we love you right here on the set of the Living Day by Day show, and you can't do anything about it. Be blessed.